Hey guys, so in this video I want to talk about how to prioritize so you get things done fast and you focus on the right things in your agency, in your SMMA, so that you can grow it fast, because there's a billion things you could be doing on a daily basis to grow your agency. And if you don't choose the right thing, you're really not gonna grow. And there are things that seem to be productive activities that are productive, but they're not the top priority for you to focus on right now. And if you get your focus messed up at any point in your journey in growing your agency, your SMMA, or I guess any business really, but that's gonna hurt you. So that's what I want to cover in this video. That really is particularly something I want to talk about right now, because this week I've kind of like put my focus on the wrong thing, and that's just kind of like that messes with your business, that messes with your brand, your productivity, and your health. So you really want to first of all figure out what is the number one thing that is going to grow your business, and what's the most urgent thing to focus on. Because there's a billion things, as I mentioned, you could be focusing on. You could do a client acquisition, email marketing, focus on creating new ads, or like getting better system, or you could focus on hiring. So how do you know where you got to put your focus on? Because really growing your SMMA is just about knowing what to do and then doing the right thing to do at this specific moment in time. So if you just miss one of those two, you know what to do, but you don't focus on the right thing right now, you're gonna like fail inevitably. So there's always one thing you should really put your focus on. And the first thing is identifying what that is. Identifying like the biggest bottleneck, the biggest constraint in your business. And I'll give you an example. Like this week, what I was doing, what I was focusing on was basically improving some automations for my call center. So in case you don't know, I should probably mention, I run an SMMA. We work with over 150, 160 like med spas in the UK, Ireland, and in the US. And we do lead generation and appointment setting for them. So this specific week alone, I was kind of like putting all my focus, because here's the thing, I spent like almost 5 figures on like a new program to help me like improve my system for my call center, like the reporting, how to improve the reporting, how to improve the automations, how to improve the workflow, like creating a bunch of automation and everything to make my callers' life better and make them more productive. So I was just focusing on that for this week, and even in the last few weeks when I had like much bigger issues in the business. Like by example, the cost per lead rose up like drastically, for our agency, and therefore like my closer wasn't getting enough like sales calls this particular week. And instead of trying to fix this, I was here fixing automation for my call center that would barely make any difference anyway. So the mistake you can get into is sometimes you have momentum in doing like an activity. You think it's the right thing to do because you already have momentum. In that case, I purchased like almost 5-figure program, to help me build that up. And so I was like, I'm so much invested in this thing, so I just got to put all my focus in it. But the thing is, it's not because you have momentum doing something. It's not because you're already involved, that you've put all that time and energy into doing something that is not the right thing, that you have to keep doing it. It's not because you're already messed up that you have to keep going. So I don't know if a lot of you guys are going to resonate with that. I think it's almost the bigger thing, just putting your focus on the right thing in order to grow your SMMA. There are people that scale to 7 figures in a few months, and there's people who takes years to do that. And I think it's just a matter of just prioritizing, what's you're focusing on right now. And if you don't identify the thing that you got to focus on, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. You're just going to stagnate. And you got to be aware of what that is. So in my case, I was just focusing on all that things. It was starting to give me headaches, and I see this other part of the business kind of falling apart, and I'm like, why am I even doing that? Why am I focusing on that? What is it going to do? You know, if I improve these automations, I'm not going to get into the details of what that is, but that I was working on. But I just realized it was going to do like improve my caller's productivity by 5%, maybe 10, when we were like leaking, the bucket was leaking in the client acquisition side of things. And I just realized, you know, screw that. You know, it's not because I've been putting so much time and effort that I have to keep going. So what I did, I ended up doing is I ended up completely putting that aside for like, I guess now I'm going to put this thing aside for a couple months, because it doesn't have a huge leverage on the business, and it requires so much of my time and effort. So it was going to require like hours of my times every day and have such a small impact on results and the health of my business, when focusing on fixing the cost per lead, you know, creating new ads is the thing that's going to like take a bit of my time but have a huge impact on the business and the cash flow. And again, if you're just too focused on the thing that doesn't matter, you're gonna start kind of like, yeah, just not be productive. And the way you identify that, I think, like the things that you gotta focus on is like, what's the thing that requires the least amount of time that has the biggest impact in the business? Like, what's the thing that is actually, first of all, leaking? You know, the business is kind of like a bucket, and it's always leaking in some way. You just gotta figure out where's the biggest leak, you know? And basically, the water that leaks is kind of like money. And if you don't fix that leak, and you focus on fixing a small leak, but there's a massive leak over here, again, like this is not good. You're leaking money. So I think it's a good analogy because it's very visual. Imagine like a bucket, like literally leaking money off it, and identify the biggest leak. And the way you do that is you kind of like, you got to be honest with yourself, and you don't want to operate on an emotional basis where you don't want to be like, what do I feel is leaking? No, you don't want to do that. You want to have a look at every single metric of your business that you're tracking, and then just see where you're within KPI and where you're not within KPI. Because if you don't track every single metric, you know, cost per lead, cost per acquisition, churn, that kind of thing. That's for the client acquisition side, and for the client result side, you may have all the metrics, like what's the percentage of a clinic that's underperforming, what's the average amount of appointments you get for a clinic, that kind of thing. So you got to track these metrics, and you see, okay, where we are like massively below KPI, and then you just like put your focus on it. And until it's solved, you don't put your focus on anything else. Or you can, obviously, but it has to take a small amount of your time. And that really helped me, you know, like just realizing that. And also just having two priorities, you know, every day. Every day I just try to have like two tasks that I need to get done no matter what. And sometimes I fail at it because it takes me too much time. I didn't really understand my time management enough. I wasn't realistic with my time, and sometimes I don't fail at it. But the point is, I'm trying to come across is there's always one or two things maximum you really, really gotta get done on a daily basis. Whether it's like creating new ads because your cost per lead is shit, or maybe it's like your closer who's got a very low close rate and you got to review some of his calls, or it's your setters that suck and you got to really spend time motivating them or review their calls, or maybe it's creating this email marketing sequence, you know, because you don't nurture your leads properly, or maybe it's simply just doing some market research, like how could you create a better offer to stand out from your competitors. There's always one damn thing that is going to solve your growth issues. And the problem is also, I think sometimes there's so many things you got to fix. I have like the biggest to-do list in my business ever. And the problem is that you think that you absolutely need to fix everything. But the reality is there will always be something to be fixed. There's always going to be. You could you have the best agency in the world. There's going to be something to fix, and it will never be perfect. So all your job is just figure out what is the biggest thing to fix right now. And you gotta also take time out of your day to just think and wonder, you know, because if you're busy working all the time, but you don't take time to think, to go for a walk, to kind of think of your business on a high level, or maybe to watch some content, you know, to see what other people are doing, you don't really have enough time to really kind of take a step back and think like, am I doing the thing I'm supposed to be doing? So you need to have that, because it's very easy to get caught into the doing, and then you don't even question what is it that you're doing. That's the reason why I've put so much time into trying to fix my call center automation and everything, because I was doing, and I wasn't like actually taking a step back and be like, am I being productive? Like, so yeah, it's just honestly, I don't think this video is gonna make a lot of you. It's not a sexy video. It's not something that people want to hear, but it's just something that I'm struggling with, and I've struggled with in the past, and honestly, I think it's massively important. So yeah, I just want to make this video. If you find it helpful, feel free to comment, leave a like, or subscribe to this video. And if you want my help helping you grow your own SMMA, there's a link in the description of this video that you can check out. Cheers.